I have become increasingly disturbed at what I see both out in life and also on the internet, especially on the internet, with these people that try to tell other people who they can and can't talk to, who they can associate with on social networks and things like that. Hey, you shouldn't talk to that person. That person's not morally right. He's evil. He's not somebody that you should be speaking with. You can't associate with that person. You can't like their Facebook post, or you can't upvote their Reddit thread, whatever it happens to be. And it is absolutely ridiculous. I don't understand how the world has become so damn stupid. I guess it's because I grew up in an era where we didn't disassociate with people based on thoughts or views. We typically, if it's somebody that I don't want to be around, it's because of their actions, their behavior, their demeanor. I don't disassociate with people because they have differing views than mine. And that was the norm when I was a kid, even as a young adult. Like, people that had differing political views or religious views, or you have a different worldview than mine, maybe a radically different worldview than mine. We can still have a conversation about it, a civil conversation. We can actually get along. We may actually respect each other in the end. And that was the norm. This is not the norm now. Now, if somebody has a different political view than you or a different religious view than you, they are shunned. You can't talk to them. Not only can you not talk to them, you have to make sure that you tell everybody else not to talk to that person. You can't associate with that person. And, when I hear that, I guess another thing is when I was younger, especially as a man, men typically just kind of stood up for themselves. Like anybody that tries to tell me what to do, my immediate reaction is to tell that person to go themselves, right? That's always my immediate reaction. That's just the normal human response. Really, that should be the normal human response. But so many people now, their normal response is, whatever people tell you to do, that's what you do. And that is so not the right thing to do. For one thing, if you're trying to be like the rest of the world, that's not a blueprint for success, right? Most of the rest of the world is not doing well, right? They're not doing well in their relationships or their jobs and in life in general. Most people are failures in life, and that's the world. Why are you trying to be like everybody else? If anything, you should be trying not to be like everyone else. But that's a topic for a different day. Let's get back to these people that try to tell you who you can or cannot associate with. Logically, how does that kind of behavior make any sense at all? I mean, what does it say about the people that are out there telling you who you can and can't talk to? Also, what does it tell you about the people they're trying to cancel, or the group in some cases they're trying to cancel, a whole community of people in some cases? For one thing, it does tell you about that person that's out there telling you what you should and shouldn't do as far as who you should hang out with, who you should talk to. Basically, it tells you immediately that person is a negative person. These people on the internet that are trying to tell everybody who they should and shouldn't associate with, they are all negative people. They're angry people. Their anger is the reason they're doing this. These are not people that are righteous in some way. They imagine they have some kind of righteous cause. They have no righteous cause. They're just negative and angry, and they can't deny it. If you're one of these people that do this and you say you're not doing this out of anger, you are absolutely full of shit, and you should be ashamed for not just lying to other people, but you're lying to yourself. And the most important person in your life should be yourself. Never lie to yourself. What it comes down to is certain people on the internet and sometimes in real life, they meet somebody that has a different political view or religious view than them, and then that makes them angry. It shouldn't make them angry. Somebody else having different views or thoughts than you should never make you angry. You should never take it personally. If you take something personally, other than somebody physically attacking you, if you take something personally, you're in the wrong, always. I mean, that's just point blank 100% fact. And I know a lot of people don't want to live in that world of reality, because we've created this false world, this mythical place now on social media where it's okay to take everything personally and be angry all the time. That's normal human response. That's the right response. And no, it's not. You know, you guys, that I made that video a few days ago about doom scrolling, and this is kind of in line with the doom scrolling effect. These people that see the world, everything in the world as evil, all of humanity as evil, everybody is out to get you, and you've bought into all the negativity and the anger and the hate on the internet. And typically that's the same people that are out there telling you who you can and can't talk to on the internet, who you can and can't hang out with in real life. And it's kind of pointless to tell other people not to associate with who they want to associate with. Because think about it logically. If you like somebody and you like talking to them, hanging out with them, whatever it happens to be, and somebody else tells you, hey, you can't hang out with that person anymore, you know, that's bad, what are you going to do? Well, you're probably still going to hang out with them, right? Just probably still going to talk to them. You may not talk to them in front of that other person or on social media. You'll keep things on the down low. You won't be so public by, you know, sharing that person's post or liking that person's tweets or whatever it happens to be. You'll just keep things a little less public, but you're not going to all of a sudden not have respect for this other person or admiration for this other person. You're still going to keep hanging out with the people that you want to hang out with. You know, all of a sudden now, though, you have to keep it in secret. You know, now things are less public. And is that better? Does that make the world a better place, that now we all have to kind of hide our true feelings and emotions and associations with other people? Is that making the world a better place? I've mentioned this many times in the past. The one person that you should be focused on as far as changing and making a better person, you should focus on yourself. That's who you should be focused on. And here's the truth. If you are one of these people that do not talk to anybody that has a different view than you are not making yourself a better person. In fact, you're making yourself a much worse person. For one thing, when you don't talk to people that have a different perspective than you have a really limited scope of things, right? You're basically living in an echo chamber where it's just you and people that think exactly like you. You never encounter different perspectives or people that, you know, basically come from a different walk of life than you, right? And it reinforces your biases, you know, all the prejudice and biases that you have in your life. You just keep reinforcing it by hanging out with the same people that have the same biases as you. Ultimately, what this behavior does, it forces you to become closed-minded, right? That's what this does. When you don't talk to other people with other views, you are now a closed-minded person. And the longer you engage in this activity, the more it becomes a habit. It becomes potentially a life habit where you will be closed-minded for the rest of your life. And is that going to be something that is actually going to help you succeed in life? Yes or no? Is being closed-minded a good thing or a bad thing? Please answer the question, answer it to yourself, answer it honestly. Some other ways that this makes you a better person when you talk to people with differing views is that, you know, it expands your knowledge. You learn new things, right? It expands your understanding of the world. You see things from a perspective that you never thought of, but this other person has. And in some ways, you know, when you begin engaging with these people that have differing views than you start to understand their point of view. You may not agree with it, but you know, you'll hear this person that has a totally different view on something than you, and the way they explain it, you're like, hey, I understand how he arrived at that. It's kind of logical how he arrived at his position. I may not agree with it because I have a different way I've arrived at my position logically and rationally, but you know, we saw things slightly differently, but I can respect that. You will have a whole new respect for these people that you're not associating with. And probably one of the biggest reasons you should talk to people with differing views than you is it helps you find your own flaws. Now, as human beings, we hate admitting we are flawed, that sometimes we are wrong, that sometimes we do things that are less than moral. We all are flawed individuals. We are all flawed as human beings. We don't like to admit it. But sometimes when you engage with other people that have a different worldview than you, it actually exposes how you, in some cases, are wrong, how in some cases you are flawed in your thinking and sometimes in your actions in life. And that's a good thing. If you're wrong on some things, don't you want to know that you're wrong? Now, I know, again, humans, the way we're wired, it's painful when we see that we're wrong. Emotionally, it kind of tears us down a little bit, but don't worry about emotions. Now, if you're wrong on something, just for being a better person going forward in life, don't you want to know that you're wrong? You're never going to know if you're wrong on things if you don't actually talk to other people that have different views than you. Now, I know this video is not necessarily tech related or related to Linux or free and open source software in any way, but this is an important topic. And, it has some bearing in the tech community, the free and open source software community, because many people in the open source community do exhibit this kind of behavior of trying to tell people who they can and can't talk to. These people that are out there trying to be the morality police. And by morality, it's all about the people that you associate with, and again, just talking to somebody, it's not you endorsing them. It's not you necessarily platforming them, right? I have talked to many people that have radically different worldviews than me, and nowadays people are so scared to be caught like on camera with certain people or in a photograph with certain people because, the people on social media are going to trash you if that person, for example, years later comes out and there's some kind of scandal with that person or whatever it happens to be. And this is not the way to live. This is not the way we used to live. Right. This is a rather new phenomenon that has been brought about with all this negativity, anger, and hate with the rise of social media. Now, one final thought. I know that a lot of people that are watching this video right now, you guys exhibit this kind of behavior. You're one of these people that try to tell people who they can and cannot associate with, and you're going to be defensive. Please, think before you start typing, because I know some of you are going to flood the comments of this video with all kinds of BS reasons why you're righteous in what you do. It's because you care so much. It's because you're trying to save the world in some way. Those arguments are all BS, right? But you're going to write them anyway. Why don't you take a step back? Why don't you wait 24 hours before posting a comment on this video? Really think before you post, because a lot of you are just going to have this knee-jerk reaction, or you're going to come back to me, oh, DT, you think you're so special, but I know there's people in your life you don't like to associate with. There's people that you don't hang out with. Well, of course there are. We all have people we don't want to be around, but there's a difference the way me and rational people tend to do this. I don't hang out with people that have bad behavior, not because they have bad thoughts. I don't care what people think, right? That has no bearing on whether it's pleasant for me to be around them. It's actions, right? It's what they do when I'm around. It's how they act, their demeanor. Are they a mean-spirited, kind of hateful person? And I just don't want to be around all of that negativity, because I'm one of these people. When I meet one of these negative, angry people, it is infectious, and I don't want to be around these infectious people. So I do disassociate with those people, but it's not because of a specific thought or view that they have. It's because of their actions. So it's very different. I know some people are going to confuse the two, right? Especially those of you that are going to be very defensive and try to defend your anger and your hate. And again, why don't you just take a few hours before responding to this video and really think about what you're doing on the internet? Anyway, peace, guys.